Welkom bij de Autonomy Show, de podcast waarin we onderzoeken hoe financiële soevereiniteit er echt uitziet, door de werelden van banken, crypto en DeFi samen te brengen. Ik ben jullie host Leandro, fractional CMO bij Monflow en founder bij Metaverse. Zoals altijd zit ik hier samen met mijn co-host en CEO van Monflow, Chai. In deze show praten we open en eerlijk over de toekomst van geld, persoonlijke autonomie en de systemen die mensen in staat stellen om echt eigenaarschap te nemen over hun financiële leven. Hi guys and welcome back to the Autonomy Show. Today we are joined by Eleonore Blanc, founder of CryptoCanal and one of the people who has helped shape the crypto community in Europe. In this episode we will talk about libertarianism, cyberpunk thinking and crypto-anarchism, not only as abstract ideologies, but as practical ways of thinking about power, responsibility, and self-determination. Good to have you here, Eleonore. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Tell me something about yourself, your background. Can you give us an insight?
Absolutely. Fell in love with crypto in 2017 and never looked back. Basically, that's the short story. I was at a point in my life where I was open to new opportunities, and I really randomly went to a Bitcoin meetup in 2017 in Amsterdam. And the two people sitting next to me could not look me in the eyes. No one could explain me what was going on. I was just being pitched ICOs after ICOs. And I'm very grateful because that night someone sat me down and just on a napkin explained public-private key encryption. And it was very rudimentary. I didn't know what I was stepping into. And they were just like, when you go home tonight, just Google this. And that was the beginning of my rabbit hole. And from then I volunteered. I started in the grassroots movements of just hosting meetups in Amsterdam. And then from then, had my first job at btc.com. I was content and community manager. So I learned a lot working for a wallet and a pool and learning all of the in and outs of mining and proof of work. And we were also the first wallet to have Bitcoin Cash. So from the get-go, I was thrown into the big blockers, and that was my crypto school. That was my first year of being in crypto, was that first experience. And then the second experience from that was also the biggest rug of my life, probably, was being fired spectacularly. The whole team in Amsterdam was rugged. And from then I created CryptoCanal. And then from then I started hosting my own events and basically continuing the job that I loved, which was creating content and, gathering people within the crypto community, but doing it under my own brand. So I've been doing CryptoCanal for a while now.
What did triggered you at that point, 2017? What was the spark?
I think I was a bit angry because I had graduated with a master's in public management out of everything. I did political science and I have a background in public policies. Water public policies is my background. And I was angry because I realized that I had a teacher that had asked at some point, who knows about blockchain and who owns Bitcoin? This was probably in 2014. Mm-hmm. And I was not interested at all back then. I just wanted to talk about environmental stuff, whatever. And I discarded that comment in that class completely. And I actually went to meet him in 2017. I actually asked to go and have, let's have coffee. I'm back in Geneva for a while. And I said, am I too late? Am I too late? Did I miss it? Can I really change careers? Can I reinvent I have to, where do I even start? All right. And I also, so he was like, no, go for it. And the second thing that was making me upset is that after learning about so much economics and about learning about so many political philosophy, I've gone through all the books throughout my university, but the word libertarian and the word Austrian economics were not part of my curriculum. They were never part of my curriculum.
I can imagine.
That also upset me. And so that was the second reason why I thought, okay, this teacher I respect, I'm going to jump in and I need to redo my education, my own education.
And was this a teacher from Geneva or from Amsterdam?
Yeah. Geneva.
From Geneva. Okay.
University of Geneva.
What's the name of the teacher?
Jean-Yves Morin. So I'm happy to introduce to you later, but it was crazy.
So it is through libertarianism that you also fell in love with crypto. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, I can say here that I did a pretty strong 180, going from a lefty Geneva socialist, thinking I had to go save the world with water policies. I went all the way to Lebanon, and I studied all the way in Singapore, thinking I would, change other places in the world with water, because water is life. And where you don't have water, or where you have really terrible water policies, there's droughts and people suffer and everything you can imagine from there. So I was always, I think, a person who wanted to, contribute to society. But once I realized the scam that was fiat, I thought, okay, more than water, robbing people from their freedom and robbing people from their monetary purchasing power, that's something I want to fight. And that's
okay. Before we get deeper into the economic side, so into the, let's call it the fiat scam, how would you define libertarianism?
Good. I think there's so many different philosophers. My definition, or how I crunch it down in my day-to-day life, is individual freedom. Libertarianism is basically having a minimal state that leaves people alone and leaves people alone to enjoy the fruits of their own labor. It means a state that backs off to let the full potential of people shine. Because fundamentally, I believe that people are capable people. The moment people take responsibility and have full ownership of their freedom and of the actions that they take in their lives, that's when the humankind really shines. So that's libertarianism for me.
I find that you take a very positive view on human nature, saying that the people are naturally capable. But there are some people who believe that, well, if you leave people alone, then they will do bad things. Shouldn't we have a bigger state to prevent it? What is your reply?
That's the paternalistic, view, which leads us to the nation states that we have today, where everybody is taken care of and nobody is responsible for anything. And I believe the opposite. I fundamentally believe in our capacity to learn, our capacity to change, our capacity to take care of one another, and to prosper without being babysat our whole life. Oh.
What different strands of libertarian thinking are there?
Well, if you dive into Hayek or Mises, or you could also argue that even as an objectivist, Ayn Rand is also part of the libertarian family. Rothbard, obviously, like all of these fathers, the fathers of Austrian economics, they have different definitions of where ends or begins the state, where begins or ends your personal liberty, or their visions on markets and the role of money. So those are the different strands. But I would say, if we put them all in the same bag, they would. I would say they would all be pro-freedom at a very primal level. I would say they are pro-freedom, pro-liberty. They are voluntarist. I don't think none of them is pro-violence. So everything should happen without coercion. And that's I would say that's the fundamental behind Austrian economics. And of course, the role of the market, right? The fundamental role of capitalism, markets, and the free economy, and what that can give to the world, and how that really empowers people versus socialism and everything that comes from that.
Yeah. So you just mentioned several really influential thinkers. So you mentioned Hayek, Mises, Rothbard. If you could choose one that you feel most closely to, which of the three would it be?
Well, I like the anarcho-capitalism side of Rothbard. I would say, but it's yeah. I think I would choose him as my favorite, and then Hayek maybe for the idea that the markets overall, decide, and then I would say Mises.
When you started, yeah. Oh, please go ahead.
And then if I would describe another influential, like if we're looking at the Austrian economic side, but if we're also looking at the fundamentals of what defines my school of thought now, would be the Cypherpunks. So then I would also add probably Eric Hughes into that, who wrote the Cypherpunk manifesto, and I would wrap them up all together. And I would say that if you take pieces of these philosophers, of these thinkers, then you have an idea of what is at the core of crypto as well, because a lot of their ideas really lives and breathes today. This is not just like fantasy land. We're not just talking about like imaginary theories. We're not, this is not fantasy. Their theories are alive and well and thriving.
It's very practical. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I wish they were alive. I wish they could see crypto today.
They would be so proud, I think.
I don't know.
You know how I got into libertarianism? When I was a young student and I studied economics and philosophy, no one taught me about libertarianism. No one taught me about Austrian economics. So I had to learn it all by myself. And I came across a book. It was a bundle of essays from Ludwig von Mises. Wow, so great. So never heard of these ideas. I want to learn more. And then I bought some books of Friedman. And then The Constitution of Liberty by Hayek. And then I read Rothbard. And I couldn't go back anymore. Once I read Rothbard, I couldn't go back to the minarchists. Is this a similar pattern?
But isn't but isn't that also what I'm hearing? What's similar as well between you and me? So we both were studying, I would say, something that's kind of adjacent. We're not like doctors, or we're not like, I don't know, studying something very practical that wouldn't require philosophy or economics. Isn't it a glaring example that libertarianism is just like erased from, I would say, mainstream curriculums out there at university? I think that's a tragedy.
Yeah, it is.
That's another problem. That's another problem. Yeah. That's a whole other rabbit's nest.
New rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Sorry, you just mentioned that libertarianism is a philosophy that is pro-liberty. If I have to define it, I always define it as people. Libertarians are people who fundamentally believe in self-ownership. It's your own body that you own, and from this self-ownership, you also own your life. If you take it away, it would be murder. You own the fruits of your labor. If you take it away, it would be theft. And you own your liberty. If you take it away, it is slavery. So it's a very Lockean perspective of libertarianism. How does this idea relate to the cypherpunks, which is a very difficult word for a lot of people? Can you explain what the cypherpunks are and how the two philosophies align?
Yes. So in the 90s, early beginnings of the internet, you had obviously a new philosophy that had to build around what the internet should be, or what are we sitting on? And that was what was at stake. And so this is, when we talk about the cypherpunks, we talk about those early people that were shaping the internet that we are using today. Now, I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert of the internet. I don't know how everything works. But what I do know is that I want the internet to remain free and available to everyone. This is too powerful to just be in the hands of a few. at the same time, I want to be able to roam the internet and have privacy. And how do I have privacy is through encryption. Privacy doesn't mean secrecy, by the way. It means that it's my power to reveal myself when I decide to. And that is a cornerstone of the Cypherpunk manifesto that I would encourage anyone listening to us tonight to read it. It's one page. It's really short, but in it, it sort of pins down the fundamental ideas of what the internet should be, and that privacy is a core aspect. So through cryptography, we have privacy, and through privacy, we can have a free internet. And with a free internet, we can actually all enjoy the spoils of this wonderful technology. Yeah.
So can I wrap this up by saying that Cypherpunk's goals is to create a free internet? Is it how we can define the movement, or?
Yeah. I think so. I'm not. I think there was never like. I don't want to say that there was anyone like who decided what these. Everybody on the internet can be part of the internet and can write and can, contribute and can define what the future will be. But to say that we want a free internet, it means that we want basically Iran right now to have access to internet. We don't want an authoritarian regime to stample on freedom and freedom of speech, because the internet today is the agora of 2,000 years ago. The internet is the place where we battle ideas and where people can express themselves. And so by removing the internet, by any country having the possibility to just cut off hundreds of millions of people from the grid, I cannot think of anything more violent. I cannot think of anything more disgusting. So that's what we don't want. If I had to give like a very concrete example of something happening today, I think we're now at 7 days of blackout for Iran. And that is the type of horrible authoritarian policies that as cypherpunks, we strongly, strongly disagree with.
But I think a lot of people don't realize that privacy is far away on the internet right now. It's a lot of people don't realize that they don't have privacy anymore.
I think we've for good or bad, we are still babies, right? Holding on something very powerful in our hands. And as children of the 90s and the 2000s, we've had to grow up with this, this tool in our lives. And governments are, patrolling and deciding what we can and cannot do.
Also big tech.
Also big tech. But now it's like,
are they banning Facebook? Oh yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yes. Can you have access to everything? Yes. Does that mean your parents should probably teach you how to navigate this? And should parents have a moment when where they sit down with their children and they talk to them and they explain to them what they're sitting in front? Yes. Do I think the state should do that? No. So, so it's a mix of like big tech, but I think Facebook still doesn't KYC anyone. You can just have an email, right? So I'd say what's worse is the state now stepping in further than, the big tech. And the big tech arguably just wants everybody in because they want everybody's data, right? So that's the other that's the other side. That's another problem. And
that's what I mean, because everyone clicks accept all, and nobody reads anything anymore. So
but that's another problem of the state. Those GDPR horrible cookies things that we keep clicking accept not accept ruined the internet, the experience of internet, because every time you open a new website now, you have to accept these things.
Exactly, yeah.
But that's typical. Typical. That's like we've spent probably, a few hundred millions somewhere at the EU, somewhere at the Commission to draft these new legislation on how we're going to save privacy from people. And the implementation is abysmal. Just like, it's like, you want to do something and then you do something completely else. I think that's, again, don't touch it. Every time you touch it, you're going to make it worse. Don't intervene. Don't intervene.
But how can we educate people to be more aware of this horrible development of governments and big tech?
I think that's let's go back maybe it's a defense shield right now, but it's like back to the libertarian idea of like to each their own. Everybody has to learn this, and if people don't care, it's probably because they haven't suffered from it. For now, they're just like, oh, this is nice. All my ads are targeted for me. I kind of like this, right? So if my experience is better, why should I be against it? So I think people sadly have to experience something tragic. I think as libertarians, pre-COVID, we were kind of crazy people when we were saying, oh, beware, the state can encroach on your liberty. Then people experienced COVID lockdowns and they were like, actually, that sucked. That was awful. And I think it's the same with the internet. Let's not over-police it. Let's see what happens. And then when something bad's happened to them, then people change. Then people adapt. And then new products emerge. And then people pay for them to protect their privacy, right? So it's like, it just needs time. Like, again, I see the internet as something very new. I see crypto as something even new, even more newer. But it's something where we just have to live and learn.
Yeah. What was so interesting when I did some research about the emergence of cryptography, and especially public key cryptography, that those academics who invented public key cryptography, they were not allowed to share the academic papers about it, because it was even until 1994, I think, it was considered illegal. You needed to have a license, and it was as heavy as an ammunition license in the United States.
Yeah, they thought it was, this was a risk for the nation, which so and that's maybe why true. We have the internet today. Yeah.
If I look at the cryptography, I think they are right. It is a risk of the nation, because it is through these kind of technologies that you can create, let's say, cryptocurrencies, and all kinds of technologies that can make the state more obsolete. So I on one hand, I can understand why they are afraid of this. On the other hand, as a freedom lover, it's just something that I think a lot of libertarians should support.
Definitely. Do you know libertarians who don't support PGP encryption? I haven't met those.
No, me neither.
They don't.
But I do know a lot of libertarians who don't understand technology very well. And I believe that I believe that the combination between understanding the combination of understanding technology and understanding libertarianism is very strong. And if you combine the two, it's very easy to get into the cypherpunks.
Yeah.
And
yeah, you're right.
So for me, if I look at myself, first I was a libertarian, then I got interested in cryptography and crypto NFA. I think there's a movement here that's also combining the two. And then it came up with the crypto anarchists, the cypherpunks. Like, I feel so aligned with them.
And once you it's such I think once you find those people, and I think that's going to be a perfect segue to talk about community. But once it's so rare. I feel like in all of my, like, I want to say mainstream, normal upbringing, surroundings, it's so rare. You don't go to yoga and find a libertarian person. Like, it's just, they're so rare. So then when you find them, you cherish them because those people are rare in your life. And then if you meet them in person, then right? And I think that's why with crypto, when you have libertarians and cypherpunks online finding each other, that's already very powerful. But then in person, it's even more magical and precious because it's rare.
I think a lot of people don't even know they are libertarian yet.
Yeah, I'm red pilling them one event at a time. They don't realize it.
Exactly.
One newsletter at a time, one tweet at a time.
Can you mention a few famous libertarians and a few famous cypherpunks, so that the listeners they understand that they're not alone if they're libertarian, or not alone if they're cypherpunk.
Alive ones, or sorry.
Yes, alive ones.
Of course, I'm going to talk about Roger Ver. Roger Ver, for those who don't know him, you can also research him, and you'll find probably something called Bitcoin Jesus.
Yeah.
Very early in the space, 2011. I believe he also ran as a politician, as a libertarian, actually, in the States before even discovering crypto. Successful entrepreneur, pre-crypto, and then early crypto in 2011 was one of the first investors in the space. So everything we appreciate and love today as users was somehow funded or seed funded by Roger at some point or another. And a staunch advocate for the powerful tool of peer-to-peer electronic cash. So we're not just investing in the space. This is not just we're all going to go to the moon Lambo type of environment. It's also we finally have the thing that the libertarians have been waiting for. We have money that is separated from the state, and we have money that we can exchange peer-to-peer without an intermediary on the internet. And that was something that Roger fought from since day one. And thanks to those people, I'm part of this space. I really think that without Roger, a lot of us would not be here. So, and I will add, he has recently become an advisor of CryptoCanal, which I'm really honored, because since the beginning, since me joining in 2017, I always looked up to him. And if you want to read anything from him, he's recently wrote a book called Hijacking Bitcoin, which explains then a whole other rabbit hole, which I welcome also our listeners to dive into, which is a very interesting part of the crypto history where Bitcoin stopped scaling. So the transaction fees over Bitcoin are crazy and renders Bitcoin not a good... Well, it violates one of the principles of sound money, which is that it should be easily transferable, and therefore it should have low transaction fees. And because if you and I are transacting for coffee, and your transaction fee is higher than the cost of your coffee, then you will not use cryptocurrency as a medium of exchange. And that's something that Roger fought for really hard, and is still fighting. To make sure that we remember that we are here to use cryptocurrency as peer-to-peer electronic cash. Yeah.
So
yeah.
Okay, I think this is really interesting. What is your opinion of Bitcoin now? If you because it seems like you're not so much in favor of Bitcoin. Is that correct? Or
yeah, that's correct. Listen. 2 months ago, we had crypto drinks in Amsterdam. And for fun, I started creating some art pieces with my team. And I said, buy them for crypto. I want to encourage people at the meetup to spend cryptocurrencies, because otherwise, what are we doing? So just here's some art. If you want it, buy with crypto. And someone offered, and we're like, yeah, I'd love to get it. And I was like, cool. And they wanted to use Bitcoin. So they spent €5 worth of Bitcoin for the art piece. And the transaction fee was 12.
Oh, wow.
That's
crazy.
We've traveled so far, and we are standing on the shoulders of cypherpunks, and this is not the cypherpunk dream. I'm sorry. Bitcoin failed. Bitcoin failed as a medium of exchange. Do not get me started on the Lightning Network. We were at Solana Breakpoint recently, and a staunch, supporter of the Lightning Network was like, please just give it a try. We're like, okay, we're going to download the wallet, we're going to fund the channel. And the transaction failed 4 times. With 3 crypto native people there testing apps with, live support. We're like, we're here like with open arms to test this technology. And it fails. So, no, I'm sorry. And yes, of course, I'm a big blocker. I've learned all of this in my first year of crypto, but I don't want Lightning. I think it's a terrible solution for scaling. I don't want to open and close every channel every time I transact with a merchant. That's another nightmare. Every time you do that, you still need to do an on-chain transaction. So that doesn't solve the fee problem. So it's cumbersome. It's not good. It doesn't work well. In the end, every, what are they called? Watchtowers are usually centralized exchanges that need this because, there's some maxi in the team that wants them to become a watchtower. So it's a terrible solution. And I think Bitcoin in a few years, probably during the next hard fork, or maybe in a few, 4, 8, 12 years, they're going to realize that they're going to have to change the inflation. They're going to have to change the 21 million cap, because otherwise they're going to have security problems. So that's a whole other thing that I can't wait to watch with some popcorn from the side. So no, I am not an avid supporter of Bitcoin.
But this is a real bomb you drop, right? Because you say the cap of 21 million have to be changed.
It will fork.
Yeah,
they will fork. There's going to be
fork.
But just like it forked with Bitcoin Cash.
Yeah.
But then the market decided, no, it wasn't ready.
Exactly.
So Bitcoin Cash, no. BSV, no. eCash, no. But Bitcoin, and I think those early forks will look on them and think, wow, that could have been a different path. But market, history, community, politics decided else. So I look forward to the next fork. It's going to happen.
But a lot of people see Bitcoin as a store of value.
I know.
And not as a medium of exchange.
I know.
At this point.
I know. So
how do you look at that?
Well, I look forward to that store of value changing, because it's bound to change. You can't stay like that. It's a good time. It's a good time for Bitcoiners and maxis, and yay to them, but it's not everlasting. I'm sorry.
You know that
it's in the protocol. I'm not the one creating these hard forks, and I'm not going to be the one. It's hard coded to half every 4 years, right? And the revenue has to come from somewhere. So if you only have 7 transactions per second, and the mining, the cost of mining is what it is, right? You still have to put a lot of electricity, et cetera, et cetera. It costs a fortune to have a mining enterprise today. If you only have 7 transactions per second, and you need to make sure that you have enough Bitcoin to cover your costs. I'm not even saying about being profitable. Each of these transactions is gonna cost a fortune. So people to transact and use the Bitcoin network is gonna cost a fortune. Now, the very wealthy will tell you, well, I'm moving 10 million, so if I'm paying, 1K, whatever. But that's not the Bitcoin that we want. That's not the medium of exchange that we want. It's so far now from but that's the cope that we're hearing, right? It's that, oh, we don't care. It will cost hundreds. It will cost thousands to transact, but it will be on the Bitcoin network. I don't think that's money for everyone and for all. That is not the permissionless, dream of money for the internet and for everyone. It's just not. It was a good attempt, a good first thing. I always compare Bitcoin to Nokia. I love my first Nokia.
Me too.
It was a great phone, you know? But, and I remember having a conversation with my mom where my phone had like a camera, and she was like, oh, and I really wanted that one. I wanted the one with the camera. And she's like, oh, but that's so stupid. Like, who wants your camera and your phone in the same thing? But today, I choose my phone with the best camera possible on the market. So I think Bitcoin is Nokia, and there will always be some people walking around with Nokias, but that's just not the majority.
I threw my Nokia to the wall, and it doesn't break. It's the best.
Well,
the best phone there is.
But it also doesn't have a camera. So, it depends on the usage. It depends on the user. And I think anyone can decide what they prefer for their own usage.
But I have another rabbit hole. I want to know what you guys think about this, because we know we have Bitcoin miners. They run the network. They mine new Bitcoins. But who is delivering the chips for the miners? It's China. What if China cuts the delivering of the chips for the miners, what will happen then?
I mean, they've already I think the chip war.
The chip war, yeah.
I think the chip war now is more worried about delivering all the AI chips that they have to deliver for the world, and I think the mining industry is like a teeny tiny of the ASIC mining chip world.
Of course, but in fact, they are in charge of the miners.
I don't know. I know that China has banned and unbanned Bitcoin like just so many times that it used to be news. It used to affect the Bitcoin price when China would, be pro or against Bitcoin. But I think if we're going to go with the miners and the chips, and I mean, let's tear down every proof of work blockchain. We don't need proof of work. We have proof of stake and other consensus. We found other smarter, better, cheaper, just as efficient ways of guaranteeing consensus on a blockchain, and I don't think we need proof of work, and we do not need all that energy consumption. We don't. Now, as a free market libertarian, I'm like, let it ride. As long as someone wants to like mine and use ASIC mining and that there's cheap electricity in the world that can be used for this, go for it. I don't think it's a sustainable way of guaranteeing the security of the network. But
and that has always been the goal of the consensus mechanism, is how can we have one that secures the network very well. And the goal is not whether we should use mining or not. The goal is how to secure it very well. And if we can secure the network very well with less resources, why would we not opt for that?
It's just a matter. Like, I think just like Bitcoin it's just a matter of time. And I think especially another argument I would say for the sake of censorship resistance, you know how easy it is to spot from space a mining facility, like it glows from space, the Bitmain and all the pools out there, they glow from space with all the heat they're generating. You could easily target bomb all those places and done. No more mining on the network. If you're talking about censorship, and if you're talking about like a state really halting the network, like in not in a we're gonna court your devs and we're gonna change the governance and we're gonna no, just in a purely realist perspective, you could just from space stop it. But you can't do that with proof of stake and many others. You can't. It's just everybody's doing that from their own literally from their computer, and it doesn't use all that heat. It's just not, so that's another argument for other consensus algorithms.
10 years ago, it was so cool. I told people, please download this Mycelium wallet. I have a bit of Bitcoin here. Do you remember that Mycelium? 10 years ago.
I do remember Mycelium. Yeah. I wonder where my keys are.
and then I would just say, download my Ethereum wallet. I'm going to send you five euros in Bitcoin. Transaction cost was just a cent, maybe less than a cent, and this was a tremendous way to grow the network, to grow the ecosystem, right? And I think this is an advantage that Bitcoin used to have, but does not have anymore, unfortunately, because the transaction costs are so high now.
What do you use now? What do you give to people when you're onboarding someone?
Bitcoin Cash.
What cryptocurrency?
Bitcoin Cash.
Really?
So when
really?
Know that I used to be a teacher at the local university in the Netherlands, and I taught blockchain. And in my first class, when I teach blockchain, I always tell them, download the Bitcoin.com wallet, and I'm going to send you a bit of Bitcoin. And with that, I always meant the Bitcoin Cash, right? And I could do that because I could easily send 30, 40 people transactions. This cost cent, less than a cent, and it makes it so much more user friendly. Right?
Of course. And so you still do it. You still give Bitcoin Cash to people. So impressed.
And then like,
because I used to give Bitcoin Cash as well in my Crypto 101 classes. But I stopped. I burnt out of Bitcoin Cash at the eCash fork. And I think that one, I don't know. There's like I was I burnt out. On that fork because I still remember begging Amaury to not do it. Don't fork. Just don't fork. Just don't do this. Don't do this 9% reward to yourself, to this whitelisted address. I was like, and forking is freedom, but when you're in the heart of the community, it's also you fork off and you lose so much of the network effect. But I still hold Bitcoin Cash, of course. I still use Bitcoin Cash as well. But when I onboard people now, I tend to give other things, even with higher transaction fees. Sometimes I give Ethereum. Sometimes I use a stable coin. Sometimes I give Monero. Sometimes I give Dash. What else have I been giving out recently? I've given Solana out. So it's really like I try to now tell people that there's many other things that they can transact with. I always like to give to onboard people through the Edge wallet. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
Yeah.
Because I like that it's many things, open source, that it's hierarchical deterministic, so it's like it has privacy by default, but people own their own keys, all of that, but also that it has multi-asset. So I like that whatever they do, whatever they go on with their journey in crypto, that they can add all these different wallets there. So it's not just a Solana wallet or an Ethereum wallet or Bitcoin wallet. It's like an everything wallet. So, but if you have any like Che, by the way, or Android, like if you have any like wallets that you recommend, like I'm always on the hunt to benchmark basically and to see what's out there, because it is how we onboard people that really matters still today. Like every time I speak to someone, or I come back from the Iranian protests and people are like, what are you doing here? Are you Iranian? Are you from Israel? I was like, no, I'm just here for freedom. And they're kind of like, well, that's a weird person.
So
and I work in crypto.
You physically went to Iran?
Yeah, no. I was on Dam Square to support the Iranian protests.
Yeah, demonstration.
yeah. Sorry, very different story. But even here in Amsterdam, I still need a tool, right? So giving a wallet, giving people crypto is always the first bite, right? So even now, as I'm in a protest, I can't help myself. But there's going to be a talk about freedom. There's going to be a talk about crypto, because people are going to ask me what I'm doing here, what I do in my life. And then it just happens, right? So every time I have a conversation with someone, that's me onboarding a new person to our world a little bit. Always on the hunt for a great wallet.
How do you respond to people who say that I don't want to use a political tool when I use crypto?
You can't. It is political by default. It is political. And if they really, I don't know. I've never had someone tell me that. I've never had someone tell me like, I don't want to use crypto because it's a political tool. Usually I'm the one who has to explain to them that it is political and not just an asset, a speculative asset. Because I like to say that using crypto is political. But if they don't want to, if I'm just imagining if someone really tells me like, I don't want it to be crypto, I don't want it to be political, then I might onboard them to a centralized exchange and say to them like, that's like a bank, but it's just like a different type of bank. But if you want to be political and if you want to be cool and if you want to own your assets, then don't go through a centralized exchange. That's probably how I would do it.
What do you think about privacy coins? Monero, Dash.
They're awesome. We need them. We need privacy. We need all types of privacy.
And they are
all the privacy that we get. Anything goes.
And they are banning them also.
Yeah, because centralized exchanges have to abide by the AFM, or they have to like abide by their stuff. And then even though the AFM, or even though sometimes the centralized exchange will overreact just to please the regulator, even if the regulator is not asking to ban Monero or Dash, the exchange might ban or remove them just to be extra compliant or pre-compliant.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
can you explain the listeners how they are private, those coins?
I used to know, and I realize I don't know anymore, all the different technological differences. But basically, on a general stance, you have privacy coins because they allow you, through the blockchain, you cannot trace where those funds come from. If we take Bitcoin or Ethereum and I send now Chai 1,000 euros worth of Ethereum, he can easily just on the block explorer, which is something that's available and a tool for everyone, he can easily trace that transaction on the blockchain. So he can look at his own wallet, and then he can look at that last transaction that I sent of 1,000 euros worth of Ethereum, and he can look where that 1,000 euros worth of Ethereum comes from. So through the block explorer, you can look at the wallet of origin, which is my wallet. And now Chai can now look at everything I own on that wallet.
Yeah, he can backtrace it. Yeah.
He can backtrace it. He can look at what I did that day, what I did 10 months ago. Is there 1 million on that account, or is there only like 10,000? And he's like, well, that's a weird wallet that she's using, and what is she doing? And basically, that's the beauty of blockchains, is that they are transparent. That is actually something that is a fundamental core value as well of cryptocurrencies, I should say, is that their blockchains are immutable and transparent. However, maybe I don't want Chai to know everything that I own. Maybe I don't want him to know where I spent my money that day or the next day. I don't want him to always be able to look at all of my assets. Just like in the fiat system, when you go out and pay for food, the restaurant cannot look at everything you own. So I think this is just a basic requirement that we're asking in crypto. It's something that we already have in the fiat world, which is financial privacy. Basic financial privacy. So Dash, Monero, Zcash, other, let's say, privacy coins, through different various technologies, they all have something different, implement a form of obfuscating that link where Chai could not just easily revert and look at the blockchain to see where those funds come from. He can always receive them. I can always send. We both still have our private keys, but through the beauty of cryptography, ZK, Mimblewimble, you name it, all these different types of privacy solutions, he does not see everything that I own. And I think that's really important.
That's the beauty of it, yeah.
Yeah, and so you have privacy that's at that base layer. So that's what we call these privacy coins that we just named. But we also have privacy solutions that are then implemented on top of Ethereum or Solana or other cryptocurrencies out there to enable that privacy, but at a later stage or through a certain wallet or when you're using
so it's like an add-on.
Contracts.
It's like an add-on on different coins, different blockchains.
Because either you have privacy by default or you have it as like a plugin. And that's what the space right now is deciding. What do we want? What do users want? Do we want it by default? By default is awesome because by default means it's less friction, easy to just have all the time. You don't have to think, oh, I just doxed the wallet. I should not have transacted with Chai. No, just if it's an asset that we're currently exchanging back and forth, the by default is more convenient. And then the add-ons that we see in the privacy space are convenient, but they're not seamless. They're not seamless. You have to jump through a few hoops to make Ethereum private, for example. And then I would love to bring this conversation there. Actually, I don't know if your listeners are familiar with the Tornado Cash. I don't know if that was where you were going, maybe with your next question, but that was obviously the biggest.
I think it would be very good if you can give a short explanation of what Tornado Cash is.
Right. So as we're talking about privacy coins, Monero, Dash, Zcash, and others, or plugin options, in 2020, Tornado Cash was born. Tornado Cash is a mixer, a decentralized mixer, meaning that no one owns it. There is no centralized entity enforcing it. It's just code that was put into the world and that people can interact with. Now, what is a mixer? A cryptocurrency mixer is the idea that, let's take the example again of me sending 1,000 euros worth of Ethereum to Chai. Chai now is thinking, oh God, I don't want Ellie to know what I'm going to do with this 1,000 worth of Ethereum, because I can still trace him, right? I could pay him and be like, what is he going to do with that money? To which, how is he splitting that? But what he could do is send those 1,000 euros worth of Ethereum to Tornado Cash. Tornado Cash keeps them for a week, and he takes them out a week later, and that breaks the link. So that breaks, it obfuscates the origin of the coin. So basically, it would remove the history of the coins that he owns. It is very useful, right? I think in 2022, when Alexei, Roman were arrested here, well, Alexei Peretsev was here arrested in the Netherlands, but at that point in time, I think more than 7 billion worth of Ethereum had gone through Tornado Cash. So you can imagine how in demand a product like this is. The market said, we need this. The market said, yes, we need privacy. But
it was very popular in the NFT boom in 2021.
7 billion. Whatever people used it for, NFTs, moving things around, not wanting their boss to see what they own, sending funds to support Ukraine, you name it, and the Lazarus Group.
Oh yeah.
So it's all these legit reasons of using Tornado Cash, and there was also illicit users to launder money, and that was Tornado Cash. That is Tornado Cash. You can still today.
It's still live, right? Yeah.
It is still live.
They can't stop.
They can't stop it.
But they arrested the founder, right?
They've arrested 2 out of 3 of the founders. Yeah. So
2 out of 3. Wow.
Yeah. So Roman Storm was arrested in the U.S. Alexei Peretsev was arrested here in the Netherlands, and another Roman is somewhere.
But what are they going to do? Because it's still live. That's crazy because they just built it.
You see, you and I hope us 3, we see how obvious that is. But for the authorities, very much not the case. For them, this was a clear, they facilitated money laundering in their eyes. And therefore, they're responsible for everything that went through Tornado Cash. You can imagine the chilling effect, right? It's like if someone would create like a magical hammer tomorrow that could nail everything into your walls, but also someone used them to like murder their family, and therefore that person goes to, that manufacturer of that hammer goes to jail for murder. That's the quick analogy for anybody listening. And that's the chilling effect that the Netherlands and the US have put on every privacy builder.
Same as Telegram, right? With also the founder arrested in France.
I think they asked for a backdoor, and I think they got it.
Yeah.
Right? So the state is not innocent. The state wants everything. The state wants to know everything. We go back to why we want a minimal state and not a daddy state who takes care and patrols everything and decide what can and can't exist and can ruin lives as well, right? 12,000 Iranians right now being gunned down in the streets asking for freedom, but also privacy developers and their lives being completely halted by the state that just decided that, actually, I know you were calling yourself an entrepreneur 2 days ago, but actually now you're a criminal. And that is chilling, because for having sat in that courtroom and hearing the charges from the prosecution and seeing seeing these the Dutch prosecution and basically, they were painting the worst picture you can imagine. But what I'm hearing is anyone who advocates for privacy and self-ownership and blockchain and cryptocurrencies and the right to financial privacy on the blockchain is a criminal. So you can see how I'm like, okay, so if Alexei is sitting is being jailed right now, which he was jailed, right? 2 times 250 days. He did 500 days in jail. one before his trial, one before being heard, and then during the hearing session. Honestly, a jurisdictional nightmare, judicial nightmare. I'm hearing that everybody from the meetups that I organized, the hackathons that I've organized, the conferences that I've organized, could be arrested and held accountable. I promote privacy. I promote the use of Tornado Cash. Right? The fact that they were a DAO didn't matter. No one cared. They were the founder. They spoke up as, XYZ founder. But it showed that there was just no protection for anything and anyone. That was chilling. And I know many people who stopped building or refused to come to the Netherlands when I was organizing conferences. They were like, Ellie, we would love to come. Mm-hmm. But Alexei is still in jail. And I don't know if they would arrest me when I land in Schiphol. And I don't have a good answer. And that's in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
You'd think I'm living in Iran right now and being like, oh, I'm not sure if you can cross the border, because the state doesn't like what you're saying. Sorry, the state here doesn't like what you're coding. What? Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Do you consider yourself a freedom fighter?
Sounds better when you say it. I wouldn't call myself that, but yes, for sure, I fight for freedom in every shape or form. Yeah.
Well, and what are your views of the Silk Road and Ross Ulbricht?
Well, first of all, yay, he's out of jail. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, I don't think it was not day one, but he did it.
You get rewarded also.
Yeah. No, that gives hope. I think that's hope for the world that Ross was liberated and is free. That was good. That was a good day. That was a wonderful, beautiful day when he was.
It was. When I also teach my blockchain classes, I always show them who Ross was and just try to be very neutral and ask the people. Ask my students, what do they think about him? What did he do wrong? They think, and what I noticed is that if you ask questions about morality, then the answer can be very different than when you ask them questions about legality, right? Because whatever is legal is not always moral, and whatever is illegal is not always immoral. And I think it's very important also for our listeners to understand the difference. We can do a lot of things that we consider good and moral and that an upstanding person should do, which is considered illegal. And then the question that we as an individual have then is, am I going to choose for the values that I believe in, like Roger Ver, or am I going to abide to the law? And for me, those people who are willing to stand up and go against the law because they believe so strongly in the moral values, they are really the freedom fighters for me.
And they're unstoppable. Because the moment you stop fearing the state, and it doesn't have to be a very oppressive state, but nothing will stop you. Because I think a lot of people, maybe you're right, the legal framework makes them pause, makes them scared. Fair enough. What am I risking? What am I going to lose? I have responsibilities. I can't just put my life on the line or something like that. But I think it's easy to be a freedom fighter when you live in Amsterdam and you have a Swiss passport. I always feel like I'm, in the protest today, I could take a selfie. I'm not afraid of who's going to see me at that protest and come for my family. So I think I don't feel like a freedom fighter. I feel like it's something normal, right? If you're standing for people who are being, who can't, everybody, me being on this podcast, talking about crypto, talking about liberty, talking about freedom, comes from a person who has the privilege of living in Amsterdam, where the rule of law is around and where I'm not afraid of, someone knocking on my door tonight and saying, "Oh, on which podcast were you?" And you were, your hair was not covered, and whatever. That's the true privilege. That's the true privilege, and that's why I think when I use my mini, platforms to advocate for people who are in jail or people who are suffering, I think that's the bare minimum.
So, Eleanor, our show is called Autonomy Show, and there are many ways.
Love the name, by the way. Love that name. Such a good name. Really good. Really good.
Proud. There are many ways through which we could look or define autonomy. What does autonomy mean for you?
Responsibility. If you're going to be autonomous, you need responsibility to then have liberty and freedom. But autonomy is something that I wish to. Well, I can hear my kitty cat who wants to join the podcast. Can you hear him?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
He's calling you.
Yeah, he's like, "Mom, stop." Autonomy. I think the big one, I think if we related back to our conversation today, is the autonomy, one, to reveal yourself to the world. So privacy up to what point and when you decide to have that. So the autonomy to be your own person on the internet and when you decide to reveal yourself or not are very important things. The autonomy to have ownership over your own financial assets, another big one, right? Why should the state, why should the banks have my assets when I can have the autonomy to safeguard them and learn about private key management and have always, my own freedom over what I own and what I've made, etc. Like what they did in Lebanon or Venezuela, or like, oh my God, like just robbing hundreds of thousands of people, millions of their assets is disgusting. So to have that power today and not use it makes me ponder. But that's my role. That's my role, to like share with the world that it's not scary and that people can have autonomy over their assets. And finally, the autonomy, I would guess, of, and the freedom of, and what you were saying, Chai, I think of not being afraid to go against the state, because sometimes you just have to hear and do what's good and not what's legal. And that's where I go a little bit in agorism, is where I think that sometimes breaking the law, if it's for a good reason, I would advocate for that. That's the full autonomy, the full freedom of every individual.
And do you believe that everyone can live autonomously, or do you believe that there are people who cannot do that?
That's the same question as people who are like, do you think everybody should have the right to vote? I do. I do think everybody should have the right to vote, just like I think everybody is capable of autonomy. I do. And then for those who maybe are, I don't know, I'm just thinking someone who's mentally limited or something like that, like, thank God we have guardianships and families and people to care for those people. But at the core, I would say that yes, people can have autonomy and they can handle themselves.
I would like to ask you that I assume that you want to create a libertarian society. What strategy do you think is a good one to move our society towards a more libertarian one? Or is it not necessary to, or is it maybe not necessary to do that? Should we just allow and leave people alone? Because you say, you know what, you don't want to move into a libertarian society, do whatever you want, live with a daddy state if you want to.
Such a good question. I love that question. So there's a few. So it depends on which day you would ask me this, I think. If it's a day where I feel very angry against the state and I think that we need a libertarian state for tomorrow, then I would say that you need something very traumatic. And that's why I can't advocate for it. But you would need a paradigm shift moment, COVID-like moment, to move people towards libertarian values and a libertarian state. They would have to be traumatized by the, tentacular reach of the state into their lives to rethink and have a negative opinion of the state and think, I don't want to give any more power. I don't want to enforce this. I don't want to feed this animal anymore. Enough.
Such an event will happen again.
That's just like Bitcoin. There's no point in fighting it. It will just fall on its face. Same as for nation states. And I think, and I'm looking forward to that, but I want to dive more, what's it called? But all these initiatives around, removing the idea of a nation state. Well, we have crypto first. So we've managed to like extract creation of money from the state. So we can also extract belonging to the state. And to some extent, I enjoy living in the Netherlands. I enjoy Amsterdam. I just came back from Abu Dhabi. It made me enjoy paying taxes. You see, that's interesting. As a libertarian, I was like, well, I found my own limit. I could decide tomorrow to expatriate myself, stop paying taxes here, and live somewhere else. We already have that freedom now, right? There's more and more people that are doing that. They're voting with their feet. They're taking their whole family to, well, we had the whole exod to Portugal. How many people from your, entourage from the Netherlands moved to Portugal or any other, island? And then, of course, the other people are leaving to go to Dubai. And so some people do that. Some people vote with their feet and they say, I don't want to pay taxes anymore in this country. I'm out. The states need to reinvent themselves. The states need to be competitive. They are now in competition with each other. And we're talking about people of means, right? People of means can become expats. People with no means become refugees. So we are from the part of people who are wealthy enough that we can also buy a passport. If we really wanted it, we could buy a passport and go really far. I'm not there yet. And for now I want to contribute. And I'm, like I said, I was happy to pay taxes. I was like, I was thinking with myself, is there a threshold? You know what I mean? Like, what's my threshold? Like, at what amount of paying taxes would I say I'm moving to Abu Dhabi next year? Like, what's the amount of money I would have to pay where I'm like, I'm disgusted enough? I will go to that place which has no soul, but I prefer that. I was on my flying back. I was really thinking like, what's, but now I know the price. I know that if I wanted, I could go live there. But I don't.
Have you ever heard of the concept
these are
of
big
startup cities? Oh,
yeah, and Liberland and all of those guys.
yeah,
and and everything that Balaji is working on, right? The network state, all of those.
So you just mentioned that the states are in competition with one another, but I think that the bigger vision is that new states are being created that will compete with the existing nations.
Yeah, it's just a problem of land. It's also a problem of land mass.
Yeah.
Right. So we can compete on the ideas. We can compete on e-citizenship, but it's about the location. And I know that Liberland struggled immensely with that, being at the border. What is it? I can't remember.
I think Croatia and Serbia.
Yeah.
Balkan states.
Yeah. And it's not easy. You know what I mean? It's just really, really difficult. And then would you move your whole family there? But, we're getting there. There's initiatives. We're brainstorming.
I think that this also touches upon maybe different perspectives of liberty as well. If we talk about liberty with libertarians, they mostly think liberty is where the state stops. So I don't want to pay a lot of taxes, therefore I have more liberty. But Hegel, the philosopher Hegel, he has a very interesting idea of what liberty is. He says that liberty is feeling at home in the world. So it is a bit different view of what liberty is. But if you would take his view, then you could say, I also feel more at home in the Netherlands, even though I pay more taxes. So liberty is not just it's not just related to how big the state is. It's also related to culture, related to the social environment you're in.
Yeah, and I think it's our favorite conversation is to benchmark countries and where would we feel at home. Like, would we feel more at home in the US where we have the right to bear arms and where the freedom of speech is ingrained in the Constitution? Or do we feel more at home here where we are jailing Alexei Pertsev and the Tornado Cash, all of that, but then it's just more gezellig? It's like, oh, but it's more gezellig, and here I can have a nice terrasje, and you don't have that in the US. And then you just think, oh, but we're fine. We have freedom of speech here, and it's, the Western world. And then you look at the UK, and you think that there's 10,000 people. I want to be wrong on these numbers. I hope it's just 1,000, but I think it's 10,000 people that are either being prosecuted or jailed for having said something in a WhatsApp group.
Yeah, 10,000 people.
It's 10,000? Oh my
Yeah.
God, I was hoping it was lower. Like, isn't that fucking frightening? And that's just a 3-hour train ride. Like, that's, and that, again, not the Islamic Republic. No. A democratically elected hellhole. So
Crazy.
Where do we go? Could the Netherlands become more like the UK? How fast would that happen?
Not hoping that, but UK
Where
is
do we
falling.
go?
Yeah.
No, but seriously, like, that's scary. We're on no high horse here, and freedom, the right to bear arms, is so important. And in the Netherlands, we don't have it. Like, we have it, but oh my God, you have to jump through hoops to be able to bear arms. We are we've so happily given up on the monopoly of violence. And you look at what's happening in Iran, and everybody's like, oh my God, it's horrible. They should defend themselves. Well, imagine if that happened here. Oh, but it would never happen here. Look at the UK. It's like people are like, yeah, they don't see it. They don't see but that's what I meant earlier from the question, Chai. Sorry, sometimes I ramble so much, and I'm sorry for the listeners. I'm just really excited about this conversation, this podcast, and I love your questions. So I'm a bit like, well, but you were saying, like, what would you do tomorrow to get a libertarian state, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the horror of what's happening in the UK. Could trigger, I think, a faster libertarian state here. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people are just absolute cheaps and they think, oh, they're all racist people and it's good that they're in jail or something. I don't know. But I want to believe in the goodness of people. I want to be an optimist. So I want to believe that people can think that that's a bad thing. But they don't know. Over Christmas, I was talking about this with my parents in Switzerland. They don't know. We know because we're on Twitter and because we see this and we're part of these certain groups that share this, but they don't know. I'm like, freedom of speech is at risk in Europe. You say, what? No. Yeah. Yes. Yes, it absolutely is. So, where to live?
We have talked a lot about autonomy systems and ideas, but we'd like to end something a personal thing.
Oh yeah,
looking at your journey, of course, in the crypto and the community building. Has that changed your sense of purpose?
I love what I do. I found my Ikigai.
Yeah,
I'm part of the lucky people that have found their Ikigai. I'm so happy. I love what I do. It gives me meaning. It gives me purpose. I wake up and I love doing it, and I'm rewarded for it.
Exactly.
Done. Did I think this was the job I was going to have? No. Did I think I was going to become an entrepreneur? No. Did I think I was going to join the UN and save people in India from floods? That was another alien, another lifetime. But there was no Ikigai there. No, I found my Ikigai by trial and error and sweat, and I'm so happy. And I'm so grateful for the Netherlands for that. Because I would not have become an entrepreneur in Switzerland. That was not possible. And I became an entrepreneur here because it's a society that, I don't know, I was inspired. I met so many ZZPers, and I was like, well, I can also become a ZZPer. Whereas in Switzerland, none of my friends, family, entourage, close relatives are entrepreneurs.
Why is it not possible in Switzerland?
Because you need so much capital to start.
Okay.
And because the cost of living is so high.
Yeah.
So of course, if you're super wealthy, or if you inherit $500,000, those people can totally become entrepreneurs. But if you're like a normal quote unquote person,
There
you don't
is
risk that.
there is an area there. A lot of people are excited about it. Zouk or something.
Yeah.
Why is that?
It has the lowest tax of Switzerland.
The lowest taxes. Okay.
Yes. So cantons, the regions of Switzerland can compete on certain, policies, such
Yeah.
as tax policies.
It's a great
So,
system.
It's a great system. So
Yeah.
if you're in Switzerland and you decide to move to Zug, then your tax changes.
Tax heaven.
Tax heaven. It's our own little tax heaven. So if you move there or live there, move your company there, all good. So that's
It just cantons. How do you pronounce it? Cantons. Cantons.
Yeah.
It's like in the Netherlands you have gemeente.
Right.
Gemeente Amsterdam. Rotterdam.
Yeah.
So is it similar or?
Yeah. So it'd be like, I think it's more like the Noord-Holland one, like not the cities,
Yeah.
but Noord-Holland, Brabant, whatever.
Yeah.
Like
oh,
that.
Provincies. Yeah.
Provincies. So
yeah.
provincies is the level of the cantons. And we have 26. We have 26 cantons that are competing with each other.
That would be great if we have it also in the Netherlands, that the provinces are competing with each other.
That's maybe a policy you can introduce.
Yeah, let's go.
Another one that I saw from Poland recently, and I was like, oh my God.
Poland is crazy.
I know, but the recent one was about if you have one kid or two that you don't have income tax anymore, exactly. or divided by two, or every new kid you have less and less income tax. I was like, is someone proposing that in the Netherlands? Because yes, please. You know what I mean?
A lot of friends of mine, not a lot of friends, but some friends of mine, they have few kids, and they literally go there. They literally moved to Poland.
Like I said, there's a threshold, right? Depending on your income, but what's the cost? Again, love this question. What's the cost of moving out, and what do we benefit from staying? And we're constantly benchmarking, right? Because now we have access to the internet, and we can see all these new policies from elsewhere in the world.
Well, it shouldn't be only benefits on your income or taxes. It should.
It's a mix,
be,
right?
Yeah. Your life standard, the quality of lives should be.
I'm sorry, I love it. I love my quality of life in Amsterdam. I love to brag that I don't have a car, and then I go around everywhere with my bike, and it's the best thing. And I have my mama feeds, and it's such a nice place. And there's so many speeltuins in Amsterdam. It's crazy.
Speeltuinen.
Yes, speeltuinen. So many. I love it. So no, I'm very grateful.
But Amsterdam is great to have. To not have a car, of course, but if you live in a different part of the Netherlands, it's not that.
I'm a privileged practical. In the ring expat lady.
Exactly.
That's
you
true.
have to live within the ring.
You have to live within the ring. Yeah. And I don't even have a back feet, so I'm one of those. Like,
a what?
I pedal. I'm not even a back feet mooter. Like, you know, those who have.
Like, a back feet.
I'm not even part of that gang yet.
It's a stupid bike. I don't like them.
You don't like them, but then you just
because people are putting their kids in front of them. So if they crash, the kids die first.
I heard. You can also like have these systems where you put them in the back.
Yeah,
but
I like the Ikigai. So I'm glad you find it also.
But it's I remember doing Ikigai stuff when I was at university, because I used to be part of like change impact stuff like that. I did like, entrepreneurship for babies when you're at uni. It was so cute. And I remember they brought up the Ikigai, and I really did not know. I didn't know how I would find my Ikigai. It really happened.
You can't force it. You find it yourself.
Yeah, and I'm so grateful for my life here and the job that I do. And
it can take years before you can find your Ikigai.
Definitely. But I showed up in Amsterdam, 2016? 2017 was very exciting and fun. COVID sucked. As an event organizer, those were dark days. That was not much Ikigai, not much making money at all. That was scary. But now we're back. We're back on track, and I love it. And I have to say that organizing crypto events, and it's so nice. And yes, of course, I work towards the big ones, right? The big ones, they're the main source of income. But the small ones, the meetups, they fill my cup every month. Every month, even though it's just, those ones are awesome, because those are really where, you just meet your peers once a month in person, and you have these cool conversations about freedom and liberty.
Yeah.
And
that's the beauty part of building a community, of course. That's what we are doing also, yeah.
And I'm so grateful,
like-minded people.
Yeah. And it's so easy to stay online and on our computers and to do everything, from home where we're comfy. But yeah, I love our meetups.
Can you also tell our listeners more about the event that you yearly organize, which is ETHDAM, and now changed to Common Sense and the Cypherpunk Week?
Yeah, no, I know it's a lot. There's a lot of things going on. But yes, for the last 3 years, we organized something called ETHDAM, a conference and hackathon dedicated to privacy and security here in Amsterdam. And it was amazing. And we're just rebranding it, and we're calling it Common Sense. And it will take place in September. So we changed the dates as not to step over ETHConf in New York. But yeah, so Common Sense, same thing. Conference hackathon dedicated to privacy and security. So we're keeping the same vibes. We are changing the venue, which I'm excited about, because after 3 years, I think I wanted change, basically. Nothing against Packhausensweiger, great place to organize stuff, great team. If anybody needs an intro, they are awesome. But we're going to be working with the Food Halle. So that's going to be, and I just wanted something with a bit more life around, because Packhouse is awesome as a venue. But then once you're there, Pita and Ikada, there's like nothing. There's no little things around, right? Whereas the Food Halle, Oud West, all of Kinkerstraat, it's awesome. So I'm really excited to be organizing something there. Oh, and of course, all the 10 Kattenmarkt, which I want to onboard to crypto. So that's my goal. And then Common Sense will be part of a larger week called Cypherpunk Week. So we're going to be working with Dash. So there's going to be DashCon the day before Common Sense. We're working with Shipyard NL, which is basically the super team. So the Solana team for the Netherlands are going to help us as well. We're going to organize workshops before. They're going to help with the hackathon. And there's already a few other organizers, I can't say anything, that are also organizing other things during that week. So yeah, I'm super excited. So Cypherpunk Week, Common Sense, first week of September. Super, super cool. Super cool. Gathering all of your favorite freedom thinkers, fighters, philosophers, builders, hackers. That's the vision. That's the dream. I think Amsterdam deserves that. It deserves a moment, time and place where we can have all these amazing people get together and showcase their best. Even in the face of everything that the fiat did. Let's see, maybe we can change their minds. Maybe they can stop prosecuting Alexei. He is still appealing a 5-year sentence. FYI, things are not completely over. So yeah, I want to bring this momentum to the city.
Eleonore, I had a question that emerged in my head a few months ago, and then I would like to ask you the same question. Is that in the crypto space, the early crypto people, they like to see themselves as the freedom fighters. They love open source, but what I've noticed is that there is another huge, very big open source community. For example, from Ubuntu Touch, who are using Linux and those kind of things, who are working on open hardware. And it seems to me that these worlds are separated from each other. What do you think about that? Is that a correct view? Yes, no, and if yes, are you interested in trying to combine the two worlds? Because I think both of the worlds are interested in creating more freedom, after all.
So you're totally right. I feel like right now we're like two islands, whereas we shouldn't. Like, I don't understand why, but it's up to me to change that. and I have a few scheduled calls, which I'm excited about, to build bridges, basically, because I think you're right. I think we should unite, and we have a common interest. So somehow the SEO on Google still works because they found us and they found Cypherpunk Week. So let's see if we can gather more momentum with those type of actors, those type of entities. I think it's so easy, and that's why I also rebranded ETHDAM. It's so easy to fall into like echo chambers and to fall into like certain sub niche communities in crypto. So I don't even know what we look like from the outside world, but we must be crazy people. And common sense, I wanted to rebrand ETHDAM to something that was more open, because I want to be able to not only talk about a certain cryptocurrency, I want to talk about all cryptocurrencies, but who are in the cypherpunk boat. So who are, promoting privacy, promoting self-ownership, promoting censorship resistance. That's what I want to push forward. And as an event organizer, as a content curator, I want to see those type of conversations. So I'm very happy you brought that conversation up. And if you have any contacts, or if any listeners think, whoa, we need to connect them to Eleonore, my Telegram is open, my emails, everything. Like, please, like, reach out. We have 9 months to really make Cypherpunk Week a moment for the open source creators out there, for the freedom fighters, for anybody who's an outside the box thinker, for anyone who thinks that, Europe deserves better. We deserve better than GDPR cookie, yes, no, accepting boxes. Those people, for the people who don't want to see 10,000 people in jail in the UK as well. I want to be that place. I want to be that place for common sense. Let's bring common sense back into our policies, and let's mix it with crypto. Let's have policies that make sense, and let's use crypto as it is. Peer-to-peer electronic cash, Bitcoin Cash, Dash, Monero, whatever your boat, but let's use it. Let's use it so that we actually feel empowered, so that we have autonomy, and that we can regain some self of ownership over our lives.
Yeah.
That's the goal. That's the big goal.
I was talking with some people from open science, open hardware, open documents, and Monflow is finance. We actually the only financial company that has an app on Ubuntu Touch. There is no native app related to finance. Yes. And we know there are only a few people using it. Not so many people. I don't know, maybe 50,000 people. But it is so important to keep them motivated. That's and to show support to them. And when talking to them...
Okay, hats off to Moonflow for that. That's really cool.
So when talking to these people, we thought, would it not be nice to create a conference, and we will call it Open Everything? Open finance. We will invite the crypto community. We will invite people from open hardware, and but what I think that we can do, and this is really my personal interest, is I can see if I can use my own network to also get these get these people from these communities involved with your Cypherpunk Week. I think they will be really interested to join it.
Yeah, absolutely, and really. I wanted Cypherpunk Week to be, it doesn't belong to anyone. It doesn't belong to me. I'm not the organizer of Cypherpunk Week. I'm just saying, yo, this is happening. Join it. I'm not going to police who's part of it, who's not part of it, how you do things. I'm just thinking I can be the first push, and then may it become bigger than me. That's it. So yeah, I'm excited for this. And I haven't seen it elsewhere in Europe. So let's do something big where we can build these bridges. I think it's so important, and we've been too long in our little comfortable little crypto bubble, and I'm happy to be popping it a little bit. Yeah.
So these are two very urgent questions I have, Leandro. I hope you don't mind if I'm going to ask.
No, of course.
But you mentioned two words, two terms that I think is very important for the listeners to also understand. One is monopoly of violence. What do you mean by that?
Mm. It means that, what's that one? It's not Bourdieu. It's Max Weber, who defines monopoly of legitimate violence by the state. So the state is the only one that has the right to exercise violence. And that's a good and a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing when you are against that state. And it's a great thing when that state is super benevolent and keeping everyone in check and is, and that it's all peaceful everywhere, which is never the case. So to have that monopoly on violence, it means that it robs people, individuals, of their own personal freedom to defend themselves or to bear arms. In this country, if you take arms to defend yourself, you go to jail. Like, this is not a place to defend yourself with arms. This is a place where you can just, if something happens to you, you lay down flat and you wait for the police to come. Because if you bear arms in any conflict, you will be in trouble. And I think that's a terrible, terrible con against the Netherlands, actually. So that's the monopoly of violence, is the fact that the state has that ultimate right of violence and the citizens don't. And we've sort of given up this violence in the hope that other people know how to defend us better than we can defend ourselves. Right? I think the monopoly of violence in the West is really a symptom of us trusting our institutions with our lives. Right? We've sort of said, we can't do it. We will elect you and you will then decide everything and you will take care of me. So it's just part of how we've eroded our personal freedom.
Yeah. Well, thank you for this extra clarification. And then there's a second term that I think is also very interesting for the listeners to understand, and it is the word anarcho-capitalism. What does it mean?
Oh, that's Rothbard. That's our honey Rothbard. So it's not that complicated. It's basically what crypto stands for. But basically, crypto anarcho-capitalism, we were going back to our libertarian political philosophy, and it's the idea that you have no state and that you organize society only through voluntary exchange, and that you still have private property and free markets. So no state, private property, voluntary interaction, and just free markets. So that's... Oh, and of course, the non-aggression principle. So, So no...
Yeah, so if I can also give a short summary of how I understand what you just said, is that...
Please.
Let me see. It is wrong to enact violence on other people. It is wrong to enact aggression on people. And the state by itself is always an institution of aggression, an institution of violence, because the state can only exist by, for example, taking away the fruits of your labor. In that case, you could consider it a criminal act. You could say that it is stealing. The state is also an institution that has the right to put, to take away your liberty, put you in jail, and maybe without proper, how do you say it? Proper judicial system. And the state can, so without this monopoly of violence, the state cannot exist. Therefore, if you really believe in a voluntarious society, you automatically believe that there should be no state. And then you automatically end up with the idea that if you strongly believe in libertarianism and you extend it to its extremes, you are automatically an anarchist.
Anarcho-capitalism. But I think anarcho-capitalism is like the end of the spectrum of libertarianism. Right? That's really the you meet with the anarchists, right? And so the anarchists advocate for no state, and so the anarcho-capitalists are saying no state, and the free market rules everything. And and everything is privately managed, and we use contracts for everything. And that shall be how we organize ourselves. So that, I think that's the extreme of the spectrum. I think I'm attracted by the idea, but I think I still like to have like a tiny state. I'm like part of those. If I'm putting myself on the libertarian spectrum, I'm like, I love anarcho-capitalism, and then I think, no, we just need a tiny one. I'm like, like the situation we have right now is completely impossible, and then anarcho-capitalism is just such a enticing, like it's such a hardcore version, but I love it. I love it. And I think it's like we tend to that. We should tend towards that, but I'm not sure if we'll ever reach it. You know what I mean?
Are you aware
it's almost too beautiful.
Are you aware of the discussions between Robert Nozick and Rothbard, who knew each other very well?
No.
So Nozick, he is a libertarian philosopher, and Nozick wrote a book called Anarchy, State and Utopia. But Nozick, he believes that an anarchist libertarian society is impossible because people will naturally create a state. And Rothbard said, no, it is possible. And this is the core of the arguments always. But what Nozick said, this is really interesting. He has a concept called the meta-utopia. What he says is that if you look at societies from a meta perspective, it is good to have anarchy. From meta perspective, people should be allowed to move from one place to another place and to create their own society that they want. And even an anarchist society, that's fine. But what you will find is that they will naturally form societies that will resemble or that will create a state naturally. That was topic of my philosophy thesis.
Really? Oh, send it to me. I'd love to read it.
I will send it to you. It's
yeah.
I don't know if I mentioned probably I mentioned Rothbard, but it's mostly looking at it from the perspective of Nozick.
Because Rothbard is like such a hardcore one, so I think that's why he's like so like, when you look at all the Austrian economics, philosophers, you're like, oh my god, Rothbard, like, he's the hardcore one, and he's cool. But it's true that Nozick is, well, what you're bringing up right now. I didn't know of this conversation between the two, but maybe what I'm even expressing without even knowing Nozick is therefore would be true, that even if in the absence of state, people would tend to organize themselves and have something together, right? Even a constitution, just writing a constitution is a form of organization, and is a form of a top-down way of saying this is how it works and how it doesn't work. Okay, this is a very, I don't know why I'm sharing this, but this is a very like ad hoc, fun story. I was part of Occupy Geneva. I don't know if you guys remember Occupy, the Occupy movement from way back. Yeah. Someone tragically, he was, how do you call them? SDF. How do you call them in English? People who don't have a home. He was homeless. A homeless person joined our encampment and overdosed and died. So we went from like pure, peace and love, no rules, everything on the encampment. We're just gonna, occupy the park here in Geneva, to actually, guys, we need something that says that we don't want this to happen again. And so it's kind of interesting that because a tragedy occurred, we had to sort of say, okay, no drugs, we can totally have homeless people running around, that's fine, but no drugs, because they might overdose, and then it might really be tragic, and we're not equipped or prepared, or we don't know what to do in these situations. So to avoid that, was voted upon to have no drugs on the encampment, but this is just side anecdote story. But I think in the face of tragedy, this is when people like to organize and put rules, right? So, but anarchy is the absence of state, but we didn't start, asking for, percentage of everyone's revenue to be part of Occupy. There's again, where do you put the cursor there on the type of policies you create? But that's another very longer discussion.
I think we could easily talk hours and hours.
I know, but this has been so nice. And I realized like I've been chatting the whole time, and this is a podcast where I'm invited, so it's very sweet that you're just diving into my thoughts. But I look forward for us to like meeting more and connecting more, because there's not many libertarians out there. There's not many libertarians in the Netherlands, and it was so nice when you came to the meetup. And I know it was very short, and we only interacted like a very, very shortly. But I would, maybe in the process of making crypto a bit more libertarian, I can also like get to see what's up with the libertarians in the Netherlands a bit more, because it's been so tempting to just find them through crypto, which means online, which means doesn't live here. But I would be interested to see what is the state of the Libertarian Party, the Libertarian community. I don't know, who's out there in the Netherlands that I should know and who I should talk to. It's true that I'm not involved at all in Dutch politics or circles, so maybe you can tell me what's up, what's out there. What should I get involved? Is there a meetup? Is there a libertarian meetup?
Well, now it is.
Yeah? There's a libertarian meetup?
No, but we can set up.
No, but really.
There are several. I'm also invited for Mises Institute Netherlands meetup soon.
Ooh.
In a few weeks.
Ooh, that's fun.
That's exciting. But the libertarians of the very small number of people who call themselves libertarians. And I don't know how you felt, but for me, becoming a libertarian felt very, very lonely. I was really depressed as a student. I had no one to talk to about philosophy that I believed in, about the Austrian economics. And when I decided to do my master in philosophy, I was going through a list of philosophers who were close to libertarianism, right? There was almost no one, but there was one who was an anarchist. His name is Gerard Casey. He was a professor at the University College Dublin. So just to work together with him, I decided to move to Dublin, study with him, did my thesis, and then he sent me to the Mises Institute in the United States. And then at the Mises Institute in the United States, I met David Gordon. I'm not sure if you're familiar with David Gordon, but not. David Gordon, he used to be best friends of Rothbard and best friends of Robert Nozick. So he told me so many funny stories about the both of them fighting each other. And it is such a small group. But what I notice is that the group is very intellectual and very interesting to talk to. And I'm sure that if you're going to join any meetup or you're going to organize a meetup among libertarians, so much intellect that you can explore.
I would honestly, if you can just get me into that Mises one, as I think that's a good start for me. Is it in the Netherlands? Is it here in Amsterdam?
Yeah, it is in the Netherlands. Yeah.
I'm down because I would love to connect more. It's just like, for me, my path towards libertarianism really came through crypto. So then I was immediately surrounded, right? Versus you, which honestly must be awful what you went through, because it must be like seeing the light and then seeing that everybody is still like blind and in darkness around you and not being able to exchange.
Yeah, for me it was the other way. For me, it was the other way around. I became a libertarian, and then I was looking for ways to make people move closer to libertarianism without discussing politics with them, because politics is very dividing. It's always one person against another person. I can never convince another person to get closer to libertarianism. But once I found out about Bitcoin, I thought, actually, this technology is promoting libertarianism without having to tell people that it's actually libertarian in its core, right?
Right.
But then, when I discovered Bitcoin, again, had no one to talk to. Because this happened in 2011, 2012.
Oh my God, yeah, super early.
It was so depressing. I had to I would say almost a terrible student life.
You felt lonely.
So how do you feel I mean, obviously you told earlier that you're sharing Bitcoin Cash with people.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Bitcoin from when you knew it in 2011 to today? How do you feel?
Oh, when I first looked more deeply into Bitcoin, already in early 2012, I thought that transparency is a weakness. I never saw it as a strength, and I thought that within a few years, Bitcoin will be fully anonymous. Why would Satoshi Nakamoto write in the white paper that in order to maintain a high degree of anonymity, you need to always change your wallet address, right? But back then, I think that Satoshi did not have access to well enough developed cryptography to really build anonymous coins, anonymous assets. And I thought that, well, this is something we can solve in a few years. So probably Bitcoin will become fully anonymous by 2013, 2014. It never happened. And I got so, it really hurts me. Every time when I talk about Bitcoin, I also get really frustrated. Especially talking to the Bitcoin maxis, I get frustrated. I was there during the block size war. I was among the big blockers.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I really believe that the only reason why Bitcoin Cash failed compared to Bitcoin is because of the name. The majority of the people don't even understand the block size war. But if Bitcoin Cash could have kept the name,
I know.
High chance that it would have become.
I know the name and we needed the ticker, but the
ticker
exchanges did that. The exchanges did that.
Yeah.
That because if the exchanges had just named the mini Bitcoin, let's call it the true Bitcoin, the big blocks, and the other one would have just become the mini, the small one, the small blocks, SBTC, small BTC. You know, it would be a different story. And people don't know that the miners were for bigger blocks, that the exchanges were for bigger blocks, that everyone, the community, wanted bigger blocks.
I still remember the discussions. At the beginning, a lot of people actually favored the big blocks.
It was not a crazy thing. It was not a crazy. It was a sensical. It was common sense to ask for bigger blocks. It was just like it was. And then they were painted as, you know, anti-Bitcoin, and you know, it was the horrible would happen. And then all the Reddit stuff and the oh my god.
Oh, the censorship was terrible. And once I found out that big blockers were censored, then I decided, you know what, I don't want to be promoting BTC anymore.
Yeah.
And that's when I decided to look further. Ethereum, Monero, nowadays you have Zeno as well. Dash.
Yeah.
Dash was so cool. I remember 2016, 2017, Dash Digital Cash.
Yeah. It used to be called Dark Coin. Do you remember they rebranded?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, but on the other hand, I'm still, of course, very pro free market. So I think that people can choose whatever they want, and I think it's good that there are many coins, and just let people choose that they whatever they feel most comfortable with, and we will find out whether my thesis will come true, and Bitcoin will fail in the end. Maybe I'm wrong.
So your thesis, yeah. Well, I'm on your side. I think your thesis will. I don't know how it fell. I don't know how. You know. Just like no one wished that COVID happened, although it awakened a lot of people towards the tyranny of the state. You don't really want. I don't want Tether to blow up, for example. You know, that's another black swan moment where I'm like, oh my god, I don't want to wake up that day. The day something like Tether or Bitcoin falls on their face hard.
Yeah.
Because that will be really bad. That will be a really bad day. But from those ashes, you know, we can rebuild. We can rebuild, and we can rebuild better. And people ask me, like, when do you think, you know, people are going to, why, you know, when I even started this in 2017, my mom was like, oh, well, no one can use Bitcoin, well, whatever. It's still a bit of a problem, But I always think that it's not for now. We're doing this for our children, our children's children. I really see this as if it took so long to separate church and state. We still have problems with that. Separating money and state is like a tiny baby new idea, and we're just playing around with it. So I see all these different factions and all these splits as it's the true battle of ideas, right? And with code, you can really just from one day to the next fork off, change one line, make it new, make it better. So I'm just happy to be part of this revolution, really, because I don't think we have it all. We don't have the answers right now. We really don't have all the answers. But it's an exciting field to be part of. It really is. And one step after another, every day we onboard someone to a wallet, every time someone makes a transaction, every time someone starts thinking, oh, I won't take all my salary in fiat. Let's maybe try with 10% crypto. 90. Every time we do that, it's just we're opening someone else's eyes to
step forward.
To an alternative.
Exactly.
Right? And I think that's what motivates me. That's part of my Ikigai. That brings me a lot of happiness.
Well, to wrap it up, we are almost 2 hours later. It was a nice conversation.
This was awesome.
I think people can learn a lot of this episode.
I'm glad.
And I hope a lot of people can join the revolution also with us.
I'd be really touched if anybody just sat for 2 hours just cleaning their house and just having us in their ears on their podcast.
You never know. Thank you so much for joining the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. To meeting you in person, Andro. I haven't had the pleasure to meeting you in person.
Not yet.
Chai, I look forward to seeing you very soon, and let's keep brainstorming and talking on how we can build more bridges with the open source world and to connect that. I'm really excited about that. And to everyone listening till now, we are still very early. I'll tell you the same thing that my teacher told me in 2017. We're still really early. This is a very exciting space with, like Chai said, very smart people, intellectual people, builders, people who have visions for the world, people who think we can do things in a different way, a better way. And we're still building the rails. I'm not even joking. We're still building the rails. We still need people to use these things and test them and see how they fit their lives. So thank you. Thank you for anyone listening. And I would like to dedicate this, my little part for today to the people standing up towards tyranny right now in Iran. I was really moved tonight to see so many people on Dam Square. But authoritarian regimes are the opposite, are the antithesis of freedom and of free markets. So yeah, to all Iranians out there, I'm with you.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. You guys, thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for watching our episodes. Please subscribe, and I see you at the next episode. Ciao.